a game they had to have, and man, oh man, Tyrese Haliburton delivers. What's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source. Happy Game 3 of the NBA Finals, where the Pacers pull off another stunning win. This one, actually, a comeback that came a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter when the Pacers just turned up the elite defense. And we'll talk about that later. But I want to start with Tyrese Haliburton. Right? All the talk around him of him not being aggressive, all the talk around him of him, sort of passing the ball up too early and him not playing up to a superstar status. And if the Pacers are going to have a chance to win any game, he has to be delivering 22 points a night. And with that comes the double digit assists. And that's sorry about that. That is exactly what he does tonight, right? 22 points. With that comes 11 assists, along with 9 rebounds, so one shy of a triple-double for him. A block, 3 offensive rebounds, just 4 turnovers. He was unbelievable tonight, and it was just him getting into the paint, making, plays for others that he wasn't able to do in games 1 and 2, right? He tonight found a way to get into the paint, make the OKC defense collapse, and then kick it out, and it really made all the difference because I mean, without him, the Pacers don't have anything because Pascal Siakam thrives off of the sort of attention being pulled away from him and put on Tyrese Haliburton. And when the OKC defense is able to, sort of sag off of him, not really sag off of him, but basically put a guy on him, take him out of the play, and then just leave him in the corner, not open, but just with one guy, it makes it so easy for OKC defense to sort of swarm around the other guys. And, we got the opposite game tonight where it was the Pacers turning the ball over. And that was because of some defense that it is unbelievable the defense that the Indiana Pacers are able to play on SGA in this game, along with Chet Holmgren, right? You get, some of the best defense from Nesmith and from Miles Turner late in this game, especially on Chet Holmgren, right? A fantastic block. Miles Turner was excellent in out rebounding the ball over him, making it hard for basically Chet Holmgren to use his size in any way. Miles Turner, unbelievable again in this night, right? He didn't have the scoring numbers, but, he is a 11th year in the league, playing all 11 years with the Pacers, and, a first game, NBA Finals game on their home court. It's just unbelievable to see what Miles Turner is doing sort of off the stat sheet, right? It's the hustle plays, diving for the ball. Basically, Shea comes around a screen at one point in this game, and Miles Turner immediately grabs the ball from him for a jump ball. So just the little plays, right? Miles Turner's obviously going to win that jump ball. So all the little plays to basically get Shea out of his rhythm, box out Chet Holmgren late in the game, and close this out, because it was not a game where you have the Pacers, pulling off a miraculous win out of thin air. It was a game where we've talked about this before, where the Pacers are just a better clutch team than OKC. I think that comes with the experience with OKC being very young, and Shea sometimes being a little too ball dominant, right? And we get this performance in the last 4 or 5 minutes where it goes from a close game, and then the Pacers pull away on just getting stops, getting out in transition, and basically we for most of the game we didn't see free points for the Pacers, right? Because the OKC defense was just too good and they were making shots. But late in that game, down the stretch, they were able to get stops on the move, get out in transition, throw heads to Siakam, to Turner, to TJ McConnell, which we'll talk about in a second. But just the simple, just easy points that you can get make all the difference against this team. I do want to talk about not TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin. The Pacers were outscored, or the Pacers bench outscored the OKC bench 30-11 in the first half, and then by the end of the game, it was at 47-18. That is just unbelievable what TJ McConnell was able to do, and more specifically Benedict Mathurin. But we'll start with TJ McConnell, right? It wasn't, his scoring, right? Some nights you need that scoring from him. In this game, he just has, how many does he have off the bench? Just 10 points off the bench. But the playmaking, the rebounding, the hustle plays, right? He had like 4 or 5 assists. I think he had all of his 5 assists coming in that second quarter where it felt like the Pacers were going to go on a run. The Thunder end up keeping it close at halftime. But it shocks me what TJ McConnell, as a small guard who, is not known for his defense. He's very similar to like a Peyton Pritchard, although he shoots a mid-range shot and Peyton Pritchard shoots a 3. But they're very similar players. And it's just unbelievable what he is able to do against, these small guards. It's almost as if, these guards off the bench actually have the better handles than the stars, right? That's certainly true with the Celtics and Peyton Pritchard, right? Peyton Pritchard is the the best probably ball handler on the team. But enough with the Celtics. TJ McConnell just doing all the little things to keep this game close, and then give you a chance. Plays for the first half of the fourth quarter, give you a chance, keep you in the game, and then down the stretch, the stars deliver, right? And that's been true in every game, right? The Pacers team has outworked the Thunder in almost every in every last 5 minutes of all 3 games here, right? Obviously in game 2 it was not a close game, and so I think the Pacers or the Thunder sort of slacked off a little bit. But as for Benedict Mathurin, right? We saw in game 2, Alex Caruso, has 20 points off the bench. Jalen Williams has another great game. Aaron Wiggins knocks down threes, right? You get that bench production. Obviously, Jalen Williams not on the bench, but you get the role player production. The Pacers, right? They didn't have that in game 2, and that's why a lot of the reasons why you got blown out in that game, right? Both these teams rely on their bench to make winning plays, to score the bucket when Shea and Haliburton and Siakam and Jalen Williams are off the court, right? And in game 2, that's why they won the game, because their bench production. And in game 3, that's why the Pacers won, right? You have the stars, but when they cancel each other out, right? We'll talk about Shea a little bit later, right? His game was okay, right? 24 points opposed to the 30 of 8. Terrible shooting once again. So, just another fantastic defensive game. I talked about this in the pregame show of how, the Thunder set these flat screens, and if you're the Pacers, you can't just sort of fight through them. You have to wait for Shea to make his first move. And we saw that in this game, right? We saw the Thunder try and set these flat screens, and the Pacers wait on it, and they don't sort of prematurely dive for the ball, and it ends up with Shea sort of being indecisive and running into these double teams where you can get the ball stolen for him for a jump ball, or he makes a bad pass, or a contested mid-range shot from deep, which you have to live with, right? So just another fantastic game, right? And I know Shea's going to say, like, he has to be better. Obviously, he has 8 rebounds, but just the 4 assists. So just an unbelievable job keeping him contained. But back to Benedict Mathurin, right? I said that the reason they won this game, or the reason Game 2 was won by OKC, was the bench. And I'm going to say it, the reason that the Pacers won this game was the bench as well, right? You have TJ McConnell running point guard, and then you have Benedict Mathurin just sitting on the wing um, and basically just getting fed balls by TJ McConnell for easy points, just easy catch and shoot threes, wide open, off of offensive rebounds, second chance opportunities, or even just a quick little dive to the paint by McConnell, gets 2 defenders to sort of go with him and leaves him open, right? When TJ McConnell wasn't handling the ball, he was making all sorts of cuts into the paint, which then allowed Benedict Mathurin to sort of get wide open, uncontested shots, right? Just, I mean, it's just unbelievable, the bench production, right? Both these teams play, 10 deep at times. In this game they went 10 deep as well. So like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they have such a deep bench. Right? There are, 5 or 6 more players on this team that, haven't played, but like maybe like it's unbelievable that the bench, by your 10th man you're able to play them in the NBA finals. The depth that both these teams had made, but it's just unbelievable. But we'll quickly here talk about you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his night, right? I talked about it a little bit earlier. I thought, he was forcing a lot of shots. He, ran into double teams late, and they were timely double teams. And so Shai didn't have chance to, run into a guy for a foul, or, pass it up, right? I thought in the first half there were some pretty poorly timed double teams, and Shai was able to sort of squeeze through it and pick up a foul. But in the second half, they came without Shai looking from a good angle. He wasn't able to spin and get contact. So just some great, great double teams from Obi Toppin, I'm thinking about specifically. Miles Turner, a couple. Speaking of Obi Toppin, like Miles Turner, had some great blocks down the stretch on Chet Holmgren, some great contest if it wasn't a block, right? So stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I also thought he had a brilliant putback dunk after the Tyrese Haliburton missed layup, which put them up, I think, 8 or so, something like that. Unbelievable. There were a couple sloppy plays down the stretch from the Pacers where, they got trapped in the corner, or they picked up unnecessary fouls, where, the clock is stopped, but, the Thunder, I think the lead was just a little too big and the Thunder weren't able to capitalize on them. But, other thoughts on this game? It really just comes down to Tyrese Haliburton, right? Like, if Tyrese Haliburton shows up, like, obviously, I think the bench had a huge, huge say in this game. But when Tyrese Haliburton shows up and he's getting the scoring, which always brings the assist, right? When he has a game of 20 plus points, more often than not, he brings the assist and they win the game. So I think they're 8-1 in these playoffs when he scores 20 or more points, which 20 points is not a huge number, right? Like, that's nothing close to what, the superstar scores in this league generate, right? Shai averages 33 during the regular season. He's averaging around 34, 35 these playoffs, right? Obviously, he had a much lower game today from that great defense from the Pacers. But, like, what he brings is that elite playmaking, but he's only able to get that playmaking if, he brings the scoring as well. Right? He can't separate the two. We've talked about this over and over again. When he shows up, this Pacers team is nearly unbeatable, like we're seeing in these playoffs, right? I mean, it's crazy to me that this team is up 2-0 on, a team, or 2-1 on a team that we thought was going to blow them out most games. Like, the fact that they're in these games, they're able to keep it close, and then, I mean, this crunch time offense from OKC is an issue. Like this game was a close, like within 2 points within the last 5 minutes of the game or so, and then the Thunder or the Pacers just go on these runs that to close these games out. That you know, it's unbelievable how efficient the Thunder or the Pacers are at making shots in crunch time. How they are able to just knock down clutch shot after clutch shot. I think they're shooting like 45, 46% on threes, which is crazy in these playoffs. Um, they're unbelievable in crunch time. They got to be up like 60% in crunch time, right? We saw in game one those like threes from Neesmith, like one after another. We saw this in the Knicks series. It's crazy the shooting that they are on, which is one of the reasons they are in this series, right? They are not winning these series just on, or they're not winning the series just on, their playmaking, their um, sort of strategy. They are winning this on some just elite shot making. I wouldn't say it's luck, but like stuff that maybe wasn't going on during the regular season. But the Pacers deserve to be here you know after the run they've been on and their style play, which is knocking out the Knicks, knocking out obviously an injured Cavs team and an injured Bucks team, but back to back Eastern Conference Finals, and then finally getting to the finals this year. Just unbelievable. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. We will be live tomorrow for the for a Celtics podcast on Jaylen Brown, knee injury, obviously, and or the surgery that he's getting, the some contract extension possibility for Kristaps Porzingis, maybe some Drew Holiday thoughts on maybe a trade here. The asking price came out. The Celtics are looking for a first round, a high first round pick, along with other picks for Drew Holiday, and then obviously Friday night pregame show, postgame show after the game, same as today. And until next time, go Pacers.